welcome everybody once again to Trinity Praise E-Life Family Series. This is basically a program to enable us to discuss certain sensitive and controversial topics. I don't think today's will be controversial, but quite sensitive. So once again, you are warmly welcome. And today I have two powerful men of God with me in the studio. I would like them to introduce themselves and their backgrounds and affiliates. So I'll start with my brother to my extreme left.
Yeah, I'm Bernard Akwesiminta from Flames of Glory Chapel International.
Apostle Jeremiah Ben Crunchy, Trinity Praise Christian Center, Ibekora.
Okay, so welcome, gentlemen. Viewers, today we want to thank everybody very much for watching and the comments we received on the last episode on basically how to keep your faith in the midst of you serving God and the various men of God. Amen. Today we want to look at the topic, the hypocrisy of Christian sex. The hypocrisy of Christian sex. I know people will start jaw dropping, but by way of introduction, this is from the heart, spirit, body, and soul. And our main biblical text is taken from Numbers chapter 19, verses 34. Numbers chapter 19, verses 34, which says that Leviticus 19:34, which says that, but the stranger, sometimes it's good to memorize and debaba. He says that, but the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. For ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So it's our family series, and we are looking at the fact that whether we like it or not, the persons to whom we get married to, we are all strangers. Somebody likes rice, somebody likes yam. However, we must strive to achieve harmony. So in the area of sex, somebody may like something and somebody may not like something. So basically, I'll start with Brother Bernard Minta. If Bernard, will you mind telling our viewers and educating us what is hypocrisy when it comes to Christian sex?
I would say that the church over a period of time has, one way or the other, decided or has become tone deaf to the issue of sex. We do not even want to talk about it in church. We do not want to discuss it. And take it or leave it, one way or the other, one would face it at a point in your life. So when it comes to the issue of hypocrisy, I believe it's because of how the world has become. It's like we take or we consider certain things to be for the world and some other things to be for the church. So the issue of sex is so sacred that the church doesn't want to tackle it, even though we ought to. So I believe this is what I would say on that issue.
Thank you very much. I like a phrase used, tone deaf. So we have become tone deaf. Or Apostle, what will you elaborate on or tell us about Christian hypocrisy when it comes to sexual matters?
Okay. Well, I am of the view that this hypocrisy in the areas relating to sex is as a result of our cultural background, how we have been raised and how we have been made to perceive the subject of sex as an issue you can't talk about, like it's a taboo. And some way, somehow, these are things that the church must correct. But I believe that the church has, I wouldn't say the church has not done enough because the church has really worked, but there is more room for improvement. I believe that church must continue to educate, must continue to inform the people of God so that we will come to appreciate it as a given gift of God in a certain period of time in one's life to celebrate. So I still see this hypocrisy as sort of something in a sense that, well, everybody want to prove that, if you love sex, if you talk about sex, you are unspiritual. But I want to say you are rather unspiritual to think that you don't love sex. I mean, in the right context. Yes, I want people to understand me.
In the right context.
Yes, because sex, is part of everything God made. And God saw that all that he has made was good. It is just that enjoying the right thing at the wrong time. Timing is everything. Timing is everything. But aside that, sex is good. It is something that God made, when it's well enjoyed as couples.
Yes. Powerful. I like your ending. Timing is everything. Before I come with my own thinking, I want to tie in what the two of you said. So, from Brother Bernard, is the establishment of the existence of Christian hypocrisy when it comes to sex. And from Apostle's point of view, is the timing. He says you are rather unspiritual when you think sex within the framework of marriage. The timing is not good. You are rather unspiritual. All right, now I want us to look at this. Is there really hypocrisy in Christian sex? Maybe some couple is looking at us, challenge for them from morning to dusk, dawn, whatever. They can do whatever they want. But is there really hypocrisy when it comes to Christians? Are we really hypocrites when it comes to sexual matters? From adolescent through teens, through youth, to marriage. Is there some air of hypocrisy that blows in the church when you talk about sex? Is it really prevalent? Man of God.
If I may come in here, what I would say is that, like Apostle said, we've been wired to believe that sex is unchristian. So normally, Christians, we feel or we think that we should be spiritual. So these things, that is sex and its related issues, are not supposed to be part of the Christian life. So we normally don't want to talk about it, even how to even do it, when to do it, and all those things. We target to be unchristian, sort of. So it makes it very difficult for the believer to really, really believe that we need to talk about it. We need to make it so open. We are not supposed to make it sacred. We need to make it open and all that. So I believe that the Christian ought to really accept that sex has to be part and parcel of our religion or our calling.
Apostle, please.
Yeah, so Bishop, I do agree that there is this hypocrisy. Yes, there is this hypocrisy in the church as far as sex matters or sex issues are concerned.
And
I'm of that view. Yeah.
Who causes this hypocrisy?
Well, I think, there are things that we have practiced and they have become like traditions of the church that we don't know how we coin or we that behavior. There are certain things we do as church, and I believe that we have to guard every attitude or every action, because sometimes there are things that we do and it's
Apostle, I don't mean to cut you.
Right.
I prefer you look at our audience and tell them these powerful things you are telling them.
Okay.
You and I, because these are powerful insights and revelations. It's not like I am the recipient. So I want us to talk to our audience.
Right.
Maybe there are some very sanctimonious, pontificated persons looking at us. They should really see you telling them. And then, so shall we please proceed?
Right. So like I was saying, there are certain things that we tend to do as Christians. There are certain traditions that we are following, that we are asking ourselves, what we are asking now is, where are those things coming from? We start behaving in a certain way, and that behavior is not biblical. It's a kind of a lifestyle, we've adapted. Let me borrow this. Where from this prayer that, especially to we charismatics, why do we always pray and put our hands here? Are we receiving phone call? Where did this thing come from? But it looks like a lady will view a guy, I'm just using that. A lady will view a guy to be spiritual when he's praying and he puts his hands here.
My God.
Once you put your hands here, it means that you are spiritual. Where did this thing come from? Likewise, the issue of sex. this hypocrisy. So I'm still trying to, so Bishop, I think it calls for an assignment to get into. I think you've opened our eyes that we need to check how we receive certain behaviors and certain lifestyle. Where do they come from? Where are we getting it? What's the motivation? What's the inspiration behind those things? So I for once I cannot pinpoint exactly where, this thing is coming from. But I think it calls for us to trace it and look at how it might have come from, one or two things that was being practiced some years back. It might be something, so difficult trying to sign where it's actually,
Man of God, what is sex?
Sex, I believe, basically, if we want to take
is it you believe or you know?
I know. If actually we are talking about sexual intercourse, then it's a union between a male.
That forms the background of the question. So what is sex? Is it just the intercourse? So what is sex? So you tell us, what is sex?
Sex is basically, I will say, is a kind of union between a man and a woman. Yeah, you need a man on the one side and a woman on the other side. So, and it's also, we can talk about intimacy here. For you to be able to have sex in the right sense as a believer, I'm taking it from the biblical point of view.
Good.
The two of you must share some kind of bond. There is this intimacy aspect of it. So you do not do it, like Apostle said, wrongly. People feel that sex can be done, even if I'm not married, I can do sex. So I want to say that sex is actually the union or the intimate relationship between a man and a woman in the godly way.
In a godly way. The intimacy, the intimacy between a man and a woman in a godly way. So, if the man and the woman, they are not husband and wife, is that what you are vouching for? Yeah. I want clarification.
Yeah, if the woman and the man are not husband and wife, per biblical perspective, they are not supposed to indulge in it.
Very good. Apostle, Ephesians 5:31 says that, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and the two shall be one flesh. So from the biblical perspective, we are getting that the consummation of the union, the evidence of consummation, is the sexual aspect. That is the man having fellowship with his wife, and the woman also equally having fellowship with the husband. Now, this is I want us to look at this. Oral sex. Is there anything nasty about oral sex or any other form of sex apart from the physical penetration of the woman by the man? Is there any other thing which also relates to sex? Because I didn't want to come with my comment first. I don't wanted you to talk first. Is there any other thing? Let me just put it that way. Is there any other way of expressing that sexual act or activity or consummation apart from the known from Adam time?
Right. So, viewers, we are talking about sex, and we've already known that from the viewpoint that sex, is that category of living organism being, as male and female. But now we are talking about sex as an activity. All right. So, Bishop, you are asking if there are other ways of sexual activity, if I heard you right. There are other ways of expressing sex as far as marriage is concerned, or rather from what we normally know. Okay, let me say this. The regular sex, or the regular form of sex we all know of, which in quote is the missionary,
so that is the missionary position.
That is what.
So this one is going to positions. So this is the missionary positions.
Yeah, that is what.
Can you describe to us the missionary position?
You see, I want to give the reason behind the word missionary.
Very well.
The word missionary, as in it was what the missionaries, on mission practice when they went with their spouse. It became so that tag missionary. What is so missionary about that? Because the missionaries, when they went on missions and, they were with their spouse and they want to have sex, they had a regular, a normal way of doing it. We don't know how the Bible says Adam laid down with his wife. So all we know is that there is a laying down. But as to the laying down, from the left position or the right position or whichever way they lay down, as in they are having it, But, God is such that, I want to say this, variation is very important. And there are things that I believe that the human body or the human mind is so awesome. It's so, I don't have the words to describe the human mind. But it's such that we tend to have variations in mind. Variation comes to mind, in order to avoid, let me say, a monotonous life. A life of one way of doing things. There are better ways we can invent things or we can do things just to avoid, boredom or just to avoid, making it a monotonous kind of lifestyle. So, some way, somehow, by a person's own ingenuity, he can explore knowing where the genitals are and how comfortably the two people can engage in that activity at their own comfort. Okay. So, I believe that we may not really, give any particular position as in, ways and means that people can, but ways that the couple themselves, can have that intimacy to the extent that they themselves, they feel that part of me is in you and part of you is also in me. Because aside the flesh getting on each other, there is also the exchange of soul. You now see that the person is really part of you and you are also part of that person, that whatever happens to the person really does affect you.
So I like the ending. Part of me is in you and part of you is in me. You see, viewers, the reasons behind some of these discussions is not novel. Everybody knows. But you see, I think within the few years, Christian marriages have been hit with all manner of troubles. And fundamentally, and that is the hypocrisy we are talking of, fundamentally, a greater percentage of the blame game points to sexual lives of couples. So just as Apostle Jeremiah said, missionary position. Listen, you need to explore. There are so many positions. At another time, we might talk about it. We have the wheelbarrow, you have the octopus, you have the doggy, you have the rabbit on me. There are so many. See, but Christians are so hypocritical that you just don't want to listen. Bible says in 2 Timothy, before nobody tells us we are not dealing with Bible. 2 Timothy 2:15 says, "Study to show thyself approved unto God." This is a broader context. Anything that you are doing, you must study to show yourself approved. How do you study something? You only study for a program when you have been enlisted for it. And this is why people don't get Christians when we're talking about sex. We're not talking about sex for teenagers. We are not talking about you going to explore with sex before you get married. But once you are married, once you qualify for a program in the university, you are handed down the syllabus. You are handing down the materials. Now you have the power or the ability or the clarification or the clearance for you to study. So don't be myopic. Don't be in that very corner. I don't know. Well, you married me as a virgin. Listen, if the man says it's a blowjob that he's interested in, you've never heard the word blowjob, go and Google and start learning. You see, we are creating so many unnecessary problems for the family, especially, it's one of the reasons behind this concept. So there are couples who have their sexual life very high in the skies. In fact, they even wish the world will never come back. They will be in their rooms, continue to have all the fun and still get their paychecks. But there are people like the video we saw on social media. Option B, he wants option B. He cannot stay with the other partner in a room. And that is not right. Because you see, if Bible says, "And the stranger that dwelleth with you, you will love him as thyself." Why can't you be with yourself in a room? So in that same way, you should be able to be with your wife or your husband in a room, irrespective of the period of time. But let's move on. So, Brother Mita, I want to ask you to look at this for me. The Christian males, i.e., husbands, and Christian females, i.e., wives, these two parties, can you tell us, if you know, who do you think loves sex? Or who should love sex?
I believe that the way the woman was created, the woman was created with some kind of weaknesses emotionally and all that. As the man was created with some kind of strength above the woman. So naturally, and per a little bit of study, I've come to also realize that women tend to get easily aroused more than men. So I would say that women tend to want sex more than the men.
Wow. Apostle, I have a different mind.
Okay, well, thank you, Bishop. I am also of the view, that in terms of, male and females, husband and wives, I believe that the man, has much, sexual activeness than the women, in the sense that women are more emotionally in tune. Men are more active and more aggressive by nature. And it's by virtue of how God made man. It's by virtue of how God made man. Because I believe that men, by study, just like my brother said, and like you said, Bishop, it's an area that we really need to study very well. We are not supposed to be myopic. We are not supposed to, be shallow in that particular area. We need to be well versed in it so that whatever you do, that you are doing it right. So in this area of which of these two, I believe that men are more sexually active in a sense that most women generally, even though we have there are some cases that are exceptional cases, most women during their menstrual cycle, that's when they start feel. Most of them have their sexual, their sexually activeness. Is much more before they go into their menses or after their menses. And so around that part of their those period in their life, even if the woman is not the type that really loves sex, by all means, within that active, because of the tenderness of the breast, because of certain features, she goes through in that period. But for a man, every man bears to the fact that if you are sleeping and you wake up at dawn and you don't feel certain movement, you don't feel that your manhood is rising up in a certain way, then you are not a man. You must. So a man is almost always sexually active. And that's why it makes men almost always ask for sex. Powerful. Because of their genetics, because of their makeup. Powerful.
Without prejudice to our viewers, let me announce that this is a special edition for males. The next edition, I will host two ladies for the gender equality. Because someone will say, how can men be talking about physiology of women? It's very deliberate. You want to feel free. And on the next episode, I'll be here with two men. But this is my take. Naturally, I believe men are prone by what we see. Women are moved by what they hear. So within the ambit of the Christian marriage, for example, you, the husband, you want to have fellowship with your wife, a very planned fellowship. Of course, some are spontaneous. Sometimes, Charlie, guys, do it in the kitchen. Sometimes in the bathroom, she's not expecting, she's taking a bath. You see, unless the person sees the glory of God, that the Lord God is able to do all things exceedingly abundantly. Because you shouldn't be, like Apostle said, myopic in one way. But you see, sometimes, this is my belief. During the daytime, send some message to your wife. Lunchtime, get her some flour. This they don't need to get a hard flour. Get her flour on your phone. WhatsApp a nice, beautiful flower vase. Is the thought of it. It works. So if you have well prepared your woman, send her messages, send her flowers. In fact, even these days, momo. Women can have money, but a little of your own, a little of what belongs to the man makes them feel very good. So even 10 Ghana cedis, Momo, 20 Ghana cedis, 100, 1,000 Ghana according to your strength. Oh, baby, this is for lunch. Have a great day. It's nice. You see, Bible says in the same Ephesians 5:32 The ending part, the beginning part, sorry, says, this is a great mystery. Today, we are not talking about marriage, we are talking about sex. We have zeroed in on a particular area. But believe you me, it's a great mystery. Why are some people enjoying it, and why are some people also seeing it as a nightmare? It all depends upon how you handle it. So just as Adam knew his garden, men know your wives. Know your woman.